Hello and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host Bryan. We're going to wrap up today with a special selection, which is where one of you tell me exactly what it is I need to check out. Today's special selection comes at us from Noah. They request Alesana, the Puppeteer. This album is one of my all-time favorites. The band has 3 guitarists and 3 vocalists, sometimes 4, and I think they all do a very good job of utilizing all of them. I'm stoked. Let's see. What do I love in music? What are topics that always come up? Vocal layering, vocal harmonies, musical layering, contrast. Yes, having 3 guitarists and 3 vocalists, I'm already stoked for this. So let's check this out. This is Alesana's The Puppeteer off of the album The Annabelle Trilogy, Part 3, Confession.
I welcome you to Puppeteer!
Interesting production on the vocals here. Variation on this idea with more intense drumming. Oh, okay. Lots of really strong bass presence right here. Really nice moving guitar riffs on the side here. Interesting to bring in synthesizer here as well. And this has been wholly linear this time as well. Okay, so this part is a repeat though of like 2 sections ago. Nice minor variations in the drums. Each bar is just slightly different from the last. This idea again. Delayed it by like a quarter of a beat, just a hair after the downbeat would have been expected. Uh, yeah, I'm gonna go listen to the whole album right now. Uh, y'all can discuss amongst yourselves what you thought of that. You don't need me to tell you. Video's over. I don't have time for this. I got a 70-minute album to listen to. What in the world? I mean, the thing is, I think this is one of the few albums where 70 minutes would probably keep my attention for every second of the album. Uh, but I mean, this is pretty close to post-hardcore, no? Um, and those albums just don't typically go over an hour, so it just kind of surprised me. Although there are a lot of tracks on here. The shortest track is there's a lot of tracks. I meant to say there's a lot of tracks in here that are lengthy. The shortest one is 3.5, and it is the only one that is sub 4 minutes. Well, there is one at 3:53, but we might as well just round that up. It's 7 whole minutes. Pretty much everything on here is over 4. Lots are in the 5s, couple in the 6s. There's 2 in the 7s. Very interesting direction to take post-hardcore. But I'm loving it. Oh man. Where do I even start? So this is not going to be like a section by section breakdown because honestly this is fairly linear. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of individual sections. Um I don't have the memory to talk about every single thing in something this with this sort of depth. So, we're going to go a bit surface level on this one. We'll talk about some of the ideas that they consistently utilize and some situations that they go against it that I can remember. To start with, I think we'd be completely remiss to not begin with the vocals. To me, that's the big draw here. Um, they are constantly and frequently overlapping each other. It is the barrage of linguistic ideas and sounds being tossed at the listener at any given moment. We have three, maybe four vocalists, but for the majority of the time, I hear three distinct harshes and two distinct cleans. It might be that the cleans are kind of identical, very close in timbre and pitch and stuff like that. So it might be possible that I'm hearing that third clean vocal in there, but I don't know. I only hear two distinct voices. Um, there were some sections where it felt like somebody double tracked themselves, did a backing track to their lead line, but given they have so many vocalists, I don't know why they would do that. So it's possible, like I said, that two of the vocalists just have very similar vocal deliveries, techniques, timbres for their cleans. But we definitely have a higher pitched sort of a yell. There is it almost sounds like there's vocal cord usage going on in here with a ton of compression over it. Then we have more of a middle of the road metalcore style of harsh, and then we have a growler who can pump it up a little bit and get a higher pitch element to it, but it's still going to be in that lower range with that wider fry crackle to it. Whereas the two higher pitched ones, the pops and crackles of the fry are more closely together. It's a tighter crackle they got. Um, and the three of these just rapid fire. They're either doing layered textures where two vocalists are doing the same thing at the same time and we get the combination of their harshes, or we just got this rapid fire back and forth between all three of them, which we saw closer to the end of the track. This is just not a song that I think, well, at least for me, not a song that I'm ever going to feel bored at any moment. There are micro contrasts happening constantly just by sheer virtue of having three distinct harshes. And that's not even pulling in the fact that we also bring in a clean voice, which gives us a fourth delivery. There's a second distinct clean voice. There's possibly a third similar clean voice in there. And then we have our female vocals in the bridge. There are 6 to 7 vocal timbres in this track. um, it's just phenomenal. And that's like so that's just the harsh side. We start looking at the clean side and we have these beautiful duets. We have these there's that one moment towards the end where our lead vocalist is centered and they only sing like one bar out of every 4 bars or maybe 2 bars out of every 4 bars. But in between their phrases, we have this beautiful like choir-esque triad going on from these vocal I from these voices. That's what a choir line is. We have these triads coming out of these voices on the side, just kind of like elevating it in a choir-esque style. Um, and just like the beautiful harmonies coming out of that, and then like the contrast again from outside to center, stacked versus singular. There was one moment where we weren't even jumping between multiple harshes. It was like 3 bars of harshes and a bar of clean, and then back to the harshes and back to the clean, and just like the sheer variety in sonic expression in just the vocals alone is it's enough for me, honestly. Like this could have been an a cappella song and I think I would have been just fine with it. um I'm here for this. Where was this band on Vocal Harmonies week? That's what I'm asking. And I'm sure somebody's gonna be like, I commented it, you didn't pick it. I'm like, jeez, what a missed opportunity. This would have been phenomenal. Aside from that, we also have our bass, which I think is a very cool part of the band, it doesn't really get a lot of moments to shine, and we'll talk about production and layering and mixing later, because this is, I don't have criticisms, but I do think there's parts I didn't like, but I don't know how to fix it. I'm not a producer. I don't even know if they could be fixed because of things we'll talk about later. But there were a couple of moments where the bass got to actually shine through and I could hear what it was doing. And it does a lot of really cool movement. I don't know if it's always moving, but the times when it gets the spotlight or just the edge of the spotlight, I should say, to be more accurate, it's got these runs to it. And I'm kind of hoping maybe the bassist is always playing these runs, and that would be very cool because that's just another thing that I really love about music is technical bass lines. And if this band does layered three-way vocals and has moving bass ideas, then I think I may have just found my new favorite band. This was a 2015 album. It is their latest. Interestingly, it's called the Annabelle Trilogy Part 3 Confessions, but there is no Part 2? Hmm. I mean, it could just not be on Apple. I probably should check some other stuff. We got 6 albums, though, from 2005 to 2015, plus an EP that came out in 2014. I think these are just singles. I'm not going to count those. Just a lot of music I got to dive into, and I think it's just going to skyrocket to the top of my listening list. But I do have questions about this album title. Like, I love trilogies. I love concept albums that tie into other concept albums, and I only see the one. So, like, what's going on with that? Oh, they were also on Pop Goes or Punk Goes Pop. They were on Volume 2, which, geez, that was, yeah, 2008. That was a long time ago. Oh, this was the one with Attack Attack who sang I Kissed a Girl. I remember this one. Which means I've probably heard. Oh, yeah, Escape the Fate did Smooth. What did they sing, though? Oh, they were the first. They were the first track. They sang What Goes Around. Yeah, I have probably heard this band before in this capacity, in this punk goes pop thing. Um, and just, I guess that song didn't have a big impact on me. I gotta go check that out too now, though, apparently, because check it out again. Anyways, back on topic. Wow, we get sidetracked easy on this channel. Basswork's phenomenal. Drums. There's a lot of drumming styles in here, and it it doesn't. I'm not gonna say it's a super complex drumming style. It's not super proggy, dealing with polymeter, polyrhythms, and playing against what other people are playing. A lot of it is more of the post-hardcore, sitting in the pocket, really laying into the heartbeat of it and giving it that energy. But there is a playfulness to it. There is a melodic drumming element that shows up every once in a while. The drummer is not content to just sitting in the pocket, though. There are some phenomenal fills in here, and even better, the fills are not spaced out very far. The drummer almost takes. There's one section I think where the drummer is like, you know what? I'm throwing a fill in every 4 bars. At the end of a phrase, I'm filling. And a lot of the time drummers tend to fill after larger pockets of time. Occasionally, even some drummers will just fill between sections. It'll be part of the transition from verse to chorus. So we might have, 16, 30 bars of, just static drumming. And this dude's like, nope, I got ideas in my brain. They got to come out in sonic form. I got a lot of ideas too, so we're going to be filling this in a lot. And I love that. It sits in the pocket. It's that metronome style of playing, but he just does not want to sit there forever. He's got little embellishments and ideas that needs to be played, and he just lets them out just in a flurry sometimes. And there's one instrument left. the guitars, and I've left them to the end because they kind of don't do much. See, the problem is we already have three lead instruments, and three lead instruments already take up a lot of space. So, what would you do with the guitars? Your bass is already laying down some foundational ideas. The chordal stuff is in the bass work. What does that leave the guitars? Well, their job just kind of gets to be fill in the space. The bottom end is taken care of. Your drums and your bass have taken care of that. And the vocals are up top, both volume wise and pitch wise for at least two of our vocalists. So we don't really need to fill in any of that. There's just this middle ground. So a lot of the time, the guitars have these one bar riffs that don't move much. There were a couple of moving guitar riffs in there, but for the most part, they're just kind of filling space with chords, which was a bit underwhelming hearing that there are three guitarists in the band. But it makes sense in practice. And here's where a little bit of that criticism comes in. There is a lot going on. I found it difficult to hear the guitars under the vocals, and I found it difficult to hear the bass under the guitars and the vocals. But what do you do about that? We could go for more of an orchestral recording and place all the different instruments around the sound sphere, but it kind of loses the post-hardcore sound when you put so much space between everything. Plus, the general idea would be to place them into instrument groupings where all your voices would be over here and all your guitars would be over here, and well, that's not going to work either. That works in a much larger symphonic setting, but for a rock band we haven't really changed much. We have four instruments here: guitar, bass, drums, and vocals. It's just we have a lot of some of them. So you would need to carve out space somewhere, and as someone who's not a producer, I'm not really sure how or where you would go about doing that wouldn't affect the song. Sonically, you still want it to sound like a post-hardcore track. You want that energy, you want that bite, you want the drive and that compression. I feel like it's opened up quite a bit already. Most post-hardcore songs are, very compressed, very center space, and this actually has some width to it, and it's already been pushed out a little bit. I don't know how much more they could push it without losing that centralized tone that the genre, really utilizes well. I'm sure they might have tried something with a bit more space to it, but again, I don't think it would end well. It would end up sounding totally different. It might actually lose some of the impact it needs. So I don't have a suggestion for it. I just know that the guitars and especially the bass were lost a lot of the times. The spotlight was given to the vocals a majority of the time. In fact, they were present in almost every section of the song except the guitar solo, and they were given the spotlight in those. I don't really think there's any other way to do it. And if I wasn't breaking this down and intently listening to it, I don't think I'd have a problem. In fact, jamming out with it through the reaction, I really didn't care. It was only at a point later on, and I was like, hey, what is the bass doing? I can't hear it. Oh, what are the guitars doing? I kind of have to wait for the vocals to stop, and I can kind of, hear what the guitars are doing in the pockets. I have a gist of it. I kind of have a general sound, but the vocals are very prominent in the mix. It's hard to listen around them. And it's not a bad thing. That's why I said I don't want to call it a criticism. The song works just fine. But for a critical listen, it's really difficult to hear some of the underlying parts because of it. So I don't think I would change anything. But I do wish I could hear more of the song. I think that wraps this up. Oh, I should talk about the guitar solo. Real quick, since we're on the topic of guitars, and it was the second time the guitar actually had a really cool melody, because the first time it was this moving, like hammer on, pull off bass, like eighth notes, just constantly moving around the neck and just playing lots of different notes. No pedal tone at all. It was just like constantly driving forward. Um, and both guitars are doing it. It's just this really cool moving idea, and like the vocals were like super impactful. I think it was during like a harsh vocal section, and the drums had like this um, 2/16 note bass kicks into a snare, so you get that da 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 that like super energetic, pushing forward, momentous sound. And you had the moving guitars, like it was coming together really well. A lot of the other time the guitars are doing chords, sometimes doing rhythms with the chords, not just holding out a whole note, but for the most part, it wasn't moving melodies. It was, like I said, filling in the the space that nobody else was taking up. Um, but yeah, they had that, and then we get the guitar solo though, and I liked it because it was a way to contrast everything else. It gave us another lead voice, another lead instrument, but it wasn't the bouncing back and forth, chaotic, layered stuff that we had in our vocals. It was a centralized, single voice, center panned, mono space. It created a center for everything. And I think it was right in the middle of the song too. A 7 minute song. It was like 3.5, 4 minutes in. So it was literally the center of the track sonically and temporally. And it just created this nice little home for everything else to be bounced off of. It gave you a rest from the cacophony of the voices everywhere, and it also allowed the bouncing around of the voices and the different placements of them, the different pannings of them, to have more impact afterwards. It was a way to kind of reset your listening experience and giving you that center. So when things start bouncing around again, you're like, oh, geez, we had this moment. This is what center feels like. This is just chaos again. So yeah, just really enjoy, and it was very well done too. So, melodically speaking, flow wise, there wasn't any part of it where I felt like it was getting distracted or disjointed or anything. It's a well done guitar solo. So this takes us to the lyrics. Give me a second. I'll read those over and we'll see what we can glean from that. So this is. It feels metaphorical, but it's also very linearly, figuratively stated. And I think there's supposed to be a dual layer here that I'm just not quite grasping. The idea is that one or maybe multiple people, it could be that every vocalist is a separate person, possibly, has been transported to a hellish world. There is a ringleader to it all, a Satan type figure who, at the beginning, welcomes them to paradise, a mountain of filth haunted by tortured shrieks of the dead. I know you'll love it here. Um, and so, at least our narrator or narrators, characters in the story, like I said, I'm not really sure yet if there's multiple perspectives or not. But they're confused at where they are, but they've realized that time doesn't exist here, so it's honestly not that bad, is what they say. And they decide maybe they should stay here. The chorus says, "Am I crazy to want to stay? Am I a fool? This place will do just fine." Verse 2 appears to be from the vocals of our ringleader, our Satan type character. He says, "Hey, you're a foolish mortal. This place is hell for you. This is terrible. Why? What did you think was going to happen here? Right? Did you think you were going to find greatness?" So apparently, for some reason, our main character thinks that staying here is better than a less torturous alternative. Something must have happened. I'm not quite sure what it is yet. Or it's possible that they think that they can gain some sort of power here. Uh, and our ringleader is like, nah, bro, that ain't gonna happen. But then, here's the interesting thing, is verse 3 brings in another character. the pretty lady, as it's called. It says, "Pretty lady, let's dance. I bet you thought you could choose to leave. Well, everyone's dead. You're all alone, and I'm the only one here." Um, and I almost thought that this was the satanic ringleader type character, right? He's just walking up to everybody and saying, "Hey, you're in hell. Everything sucks." You know, that's kind of the vibe I was getting. But it finishes off with, "I'll do what it takes. What's another mistake? Back and forth or upside down as we laugh ourselves to sleep. We're trying to escape an evil place so full of wonder." And it makes me think that this is our first character. And they're finding love in this mountain of filth. But I don't know, it's kind of weird because it even states, you're all alone and I'm the only one here, which is kind of like, it's not really love, it's just I'm the only other guy around. Lucky me kind of thing going on. But then we get our verse 4, which is our female vocalist, and she comes in. I'm going to assume she's speaking for the pretty lady character, and she says, "Everything's gone. What have I done? Where did you go? Will I find you? This is our home sweet home." The canvas went up in flames. It almost sounds like there was a relationship between these two characters, unless she's referencing something from like a past life or like a past whatever. But there's nothing here in between that really says that. In fact, the bridge says, "Feeling the pressure, I should be over you. Slave to slave to the pleasure, I can't get over you. Tonight we'll pretend that we're all right. We'll say it's forever. Don't let me fade away." And that right there tells me that this hell is a metaphor for what our main character is possibly hoping for, is a temporary breakup, maybe, right? Some time to be apart and refresh, get some more perspective on life, and possibly get back together. And that's what I think that this hell is supposed to be. But then we get back to the idea of our female vocalist wondering where somebody is. I'm going to assume our main character, and that this hellish area is the home sweet home, which makes me think that this is a bit more figurative. And that's pretty much it. We repeat a couple of ideas here. We repeat our verse 3, we repeat our verse 2. We have our outro then. It says, "Parting is such sweet sorrow. Come back to me soon, my dear. I'll be counting the days. Farewell, my love," which kind of goes back into this idea of a lost relationship, a separation. So this is our home sweet home. Drench yourself in the cries of the damned. Spill their blood. Bathe in bliss as we torture the sane. Help me, God. And this brings back the figurative reading. So I'm honestly not sure. Like I said, I can see it in both ways. A personification of the distress and sorrow of ending a relationship, with possibly the extra tension of trying to get it back together, mixed with a very real reality of people ending up in a hellish landscape and trying to make the best that they can out of it. I'm honestly not quite sure which way they lean on this. But I mean, musically, I can hear some of this. There's a lot of, I didn't give it any justice given all the exclamation marks in here, but there's a lot of energy in the lyrics, a lot of drive and motivation and passion, especially the Satan type character who runs this hellish landscape. I believe that's where all the vocal growls come from and the harshes. I think that was verse 3. That was also a harsh verse. And so there is a lot of synergy here. Even musically, there's these soundscapes of anguish in a couple of the places. I'm not going to say that it's a perfect pairing of theme between lyrics and music, but finding out it was about going to this hellish place and having this demonic ringleader taunting and talking to these mortals who find themselves here, I can hear some of that in places. The love song stuff, I don't. Maybe I can hear that because the song does dive into more atmospheric elements of ethereal voices and suspended notes and just airy, guitar work as well. And there is like a little bit of that sappy romance stuff going on in those sections. So maybe that romantic edge is, I mean, it's like I said, there's a lot of elements that are tying the two together. I don't see it as perfect synergy, but it definitely has more ties between the music and the lyrics than I was expecting. Those are my thoughts on Alesana's The Puppeteer. Did you enjoy this or not? Did you enjoy this? That is a much better way to phrase. Did you enjoy this or not? I think that's weird. Why did I even say that? Did you enjoy this? Do you have thoughts on this? Anything you'd like to add on to what I said or correct me on? Put that stuff down in the comments. Above the comment section is a description box, and in there is a nifty little URL that'll take you to this place. It's called Linktree, and this is a little menu for the channel. It has links for everything. It's a tree of links. It's called Linktree. Anyway, it has multiple ways to support the channel if that's your thing. One of them is Patreon, gets you ways to vote on future themes and songs. You can also submit your own special selections through there. You can pick up merch. Like, there's a lot of ways to support the channel and get things out of it. There's also a link to Discord and a link to the Discord server. I just want to get done with this so I can go listen to this album. I'm serious. There's a link to Discord in there. There's a link to my music in there. There's a lot of other links. Go ahead and check it out. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all three of those. That wraps it up for today. We'll be back tomorrow. We're going to have our final gibberish band name, and we're going to look at a couple creator requests. Until then. Well, that's all at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 p.m. UTC tomorrow. All right. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening whenever you choose to watch my videos.